Alright everybody, welcome back to episode 3 on Miss Dorothy here, our full-size shooting star. Today we are going to be giving Dorothy a decent scrub down. Alright, we are going to take her from her cold state, get her clean, basically to where she is ready for another round of injection through it. This one we're going to do everything from removing the puck inside here. As you guys saw in the last video, I basically shut this thing down and she is how she sits. We have plastic still inside the containers, and if you will notice, for demonstration purposes only, I left this one in. There is cold plastic in here. It doesn't like to come out, so I will show you a way to help get this stir out of here in case this happens, and trust me, it will happen. We'll go through that. We'll go through cleaning the brass nuts, cleaning the injector, and there is a couple ways to get the plastic out of this. So without further ado, we'll try to keep this one short and sweet. I'll get you guys over here. We'll look inside this container and show you exactly how I, may not be the right way to do it, but this is how I clean the plastic, the glitter, and everything out of Miss Dorothy. Thought we'd do a little quick rundown here as well, getting the cart in front of the horse. Things you will need to help clean your shooting star. Pretty simple. I went through this in the other video. Clorox wipes, just general hand wipes. I do have a large wrench here that I did not include in the last video. This will aid in removing the brass nuts. We'll get into that a little bit later. If you've got the correct size socket, it's better, but I shouldn't have to really use these. Standard SAE Allen wrenches. Of course, plastic putty knives, different sizes. These come in really handy. A flashlight that I didn't include on the last video because you will need to look down into your pots. And then of course your standard make it move WD-40. So let's get inside this pot and let's get it cleaned out. Alright, so here we are. We got Miss Dorothy, okay, down inside the pot. Nice purple color down there, as you can see. We have our stir here. First thing we need to do is remove this stir. You can either hang it up, lay it down, however you guys want to store your stirs. That's quite all right. Alright, so here we are inside the shooting star. This is where all the magic happens. I've got multiple things pointed down here in the pot, so it's going to be kind of hard to reach in here. Take your spatula, your putty knife. I like to go around the edge, depending on how thick your puck is in here, and this one's fairly thick. You just get it started. And normally, if you're talented, you can reach in here and literally pull this purple out. You're going to see that there is a lot of flake left over. Alright, that is where our friend WD-40 is going to come in. Now, let's see if I can zoom out here. You guys see that little hole right there? That is your pickup inside this pot. That's where all your plastic comes in. That's why we lean the pot. So from this point, get this camera steady while I grab the other hand, we're going to spray the WD right down in here, and we're going to let this sit for probably a minute or two. That helps kind of just break the bond up on that glitter. Oh, here is the puck that comes out of the large shooting star, right? I don't know what it does in the small, but you can see there's a little bit there. It's not too bad. Normally we like to get it a little bit lower than that, but that is what you were pulling out. And if you flip it over, yeah, a lot of flake. So we'll get here and get the rest of this glitter cleaned out. Alright, this stuff's had a moment to sit. Come in here, and this stuff will just literally, not hardly putting any pressure down. Sorry if the camera's a little shaky. I got you just sitting on the shooting star. Literally come in here, peel this stuff right off. Now, whether if you want to keep this glitter or not, that's up to you guys. As you can see, it's a pretty simple process. You just got to reach in here, peel it off. And that's it. Go ahead and work all this to one spot, reach in here, pull the glitter out, and you are essentially done cleaning out the inside of your star. Sure, you can come in here with a rag, wipe it out. That's it. That's that's all you got to do to clean the inside of the full-size shooting star. Alright, so now it is time to clean out the other side of Miss Dorothy here, and it's for demonstration purposes only. Yeah, right. Sometimes you forget to pull the stirrer motor out of the shooting star and the plastic inside is cold. Alright, I can't pick that up. So the only thing I can recommend here, there's no right way, there is a wrong way, and that's just to get too rough and you will literally bend your stirrer motor inside here. If you've got a lot of plastic in here, the only thing I can recommend is you're probably going to lose it, meaning you need to turn it on and reheat it. And without the ability to stir it, the bottom of your plastic is probably going to overheat and burn. If you've got very little, which I've got the same amount that we just pulled out over there, you can pull this out. You need to remember kind of the direction of what this is going right here, right? So if it's in here like that, which I've got it, I know when I pick it up, I need to try to peel the bottom to the right, so that will release and come out. So take your time doing this. Don't get, if you've taken a lot of energy drinks like I have, you know, slow down and take your time. Normally you can rock this thing forward and backward and kind of use that leverage on the pot to help pull it out. So there you go. Just pulled it out, and you'll see it's pretty clean because, right, the plastic is still down in the pot. The only thing I'll advocate here is if you've got quite a bit in here for some reason, you're kind of screwed. You're going to have to come up with some pretty severe measures to get it out. But if you've got a little bit, take your time. It will come out. Make sure it's not bent, which you got to get a pry bar in here to bend these. So that's the only thing I can recommend. Try not to leave it in there, obviously, but mistakes do happen. Alright, so here we go. We're going to clean out the inside of these brass nuts. I'll show you how to get them off, how to clean them out, the O-rings that are associated, and the little valve inside of there. Now this machine is still cold, alright? I have not cleaned the plastic out that's in the runners back here, but we will get to that here in just a minute. So, first things first, you have your brass nut, and you have this keeper on the back that's got two Allen bolts back here. To start this process, you will remove both of those Allens. You do not have to remove them in its entirety, but you need to get them loose enough that you can slide the keeper off the back of the brass nut. And you'll see these are not very tight at all. Now, this brass nut should not be very tight. If you've got this nut cranked down with a wrench, like I said earlier, I should not need that big wrench. This should just be finger tight. I should be able to come in here, and it's got a lot of gunk in it. It's trying to move. This one's got a lot of junk in the threads. I can tell just by how it's trying to come off. Come in here, unthread it, and you'll start to see a lot of burnt plastic falling out of this. It's not enough to affect what you're doing with the shooting star, but plastic gets everywhere. Try to see if you guys can see this. See if it'll refocus. See that white O-ring in there? That's one of the O-rings in this system. And that is what keeps a seal between this brass nut and this valve that's right here. So this valve is currently in the closed position. Grab another tool here. It's currently in the closed position. This valve is only made to rotate 90 degrees to the left. So it'll probably fall off, but it is only made, you see all the burnt stuff that just fell out of there. It's only made to turn to there. I'll go ahead and pull it off. So that's in the open position. This is full of burnt plastic. Here, around here, inside of here, this is all the black tar you see. That's burnt plastic. We got to get all that cleaned up. If you ever have problems with your injector not wanting to turn real smooth, most likely this is the case. There is burnt plastic in here everywhere. And the one thing I forgot to mention earlier, this is where your O-ring tool, your O-ring picks, come in real handy. Sorry if that didn't get in focus. But all you need to do is just gently, lightly remove that burnt plastic. I will then come in here, I'll get the big stuff with this, There is a dowel pin in this corner right here. That is to limit the rotation of this valve here. You can see how it's notched on this side where my thumb is. That is how it only travels 90 degrees. There's a dowel pin right in here. I don't know if you guys can see it or not. I've actually broke one of these off in my other ports to where now my valve can turn a full 360. But that is what keeps your injector from spinning all the way around. So be careful when you're in here working on this. Those can move, they can break. So just be careful with all this. I will take my instrument. There usually will get to be a lot of, you know, burnt stuff in here. Just a nice light cleaning. Best case scenario would be if you had a parts washer, put it in there, it would take all this gunk off. This is not required every time you want to clean the shooting star. This is part of what I would call your deep clean. So I'll get that cleaned up, and literally we just go back with it. You might come in here and clean the threads out of your brass nut. The O-ring should not have to come out. If it's in good condition, you should be able to leave it in there. Don't nick it with anything, but it'll be fine. So let's get that cleaned up. I'll be right back. Whew, that was dirty. I'll show you guys exactly what I had to do here. I ended up taking the white O-ring out of this brass nut and cleaning it. I even had to clean all the threads. It was very dirty. That's where that O-ring pick tool comes in nice. You can get down in those threads, knock all that gunk out of there, and clean it out. I will say one thing. If you are experiencing air in your injectors, or you think there is, these brass nuts, that valve, this would be my #1 go-to as far as figuring out where air is coming from. It's not likely it's your injector. It's probably in this apparatus here. That is where you're sucking up air. Clean this out, clean that valve out, and I guarantee you're going to have more success. Okay, so here we go. We're going to go back together with everything. Clean up our mesh. You can see just how much burnt plastic has come out of this thing. Quite a bit. That's just out of this one little fitting. So every once in a while you will need to do a deep clean. So step 1, get the white O-ring back in there. 2, make sure your orientation of your valve is correct. It's going to literally just sit in here. Now sometimes you have a hard time keeping it in, but it's as simple as this. Put your brass nut back on, and you will have to kind of look, make sure that your valve is in the position where you had it, because when you tighten this, it might want to move. This shouldn't be much more than hand tight. I had to use pliers on it to take it off because of all the burnt plastic, but I usually run mine about right there, just hand tight. This doesn't need to be real tight, because if you tighten it down too much, you will literally crush the white O-ring inside of there. Let this keeper back here do all the work as far as keeping everything tight. If you go to put this brass nut on and you don't feel like it went all the way on, check inside. I bet your valve has spun and it is now keeping you from tightening everything down. It's a very simple system. Get these just a little snug, nothing crazy. You're done. Now you've got 2 more to do. So I'm going to go ahead and do this one over here, and from there we'll go back and show you guys how to clean the plastic out of the runners. So here is one reason why you take the valves out. You take the nuts off, everything, and you clean. Alright, that black that you see is all burnt plastic. Burnt plastic does not form a very good seal. If you're getting air in your injector, this is where to look, folks. Alright, so we've got the brass bushings, the valves, everything cleaned out. The pots are cleaned out. So now we're going to get the plastic out of the runners in here. So Ultra Molds has a video on how to take the injector, a warm injector, draw it up full of air, shoot it in here, and get the plastic to come out in the pots. That's a good way to do it. Typically though, you got to let the pots cool back down, reach in there and grab the plastic, pull it out. This is the way I do it. It is probably not recommended by many, but this is a little quicker way to clean your star out. So, in order to do this, it's pretty simple. Basically, you're going to come in here with your needle nose pliers and be very gentle on how you do this. But we're going to open up the valves. Alright, there is still plastic in here. We're going to go ahead and open it up. Open the middle one up too if you want. You probably won't get anything out of there. And then we're basically going to turn on the burners and bring the system up to temperature. You will see that the shooting star is leaning quite a bit more than what it was. I actually had to redo this video because the audio was no good. But we're going to get a orange and green pumpkin out of here now instead of purple and green pumpkin. But you'll see the plastic will just start to drip out of here whenever we do that. So we'll come back in a little bit when this is up to temperature and call it good. One question I get a lot is about the injector itself. How often do you clean it? Not very often. The O-rings in here usually don't go bad. This thing is made to use hot. Okay, if you get your shooting star first and you've got your injector and it's cold and you sit here and you pull on this, it's going to be pretty rough and or stiff. Okay. These are not really made to be operated like that cold. They need to be hot for the O-rings and everything to do what they need to do. So if you get your injector, I would highly advise not pushing and pulling on it when it is cold. It's made to be run hot. Also, one thing about the injector is there is an O-ring down here. This little guy will often come off when you're shooting your molds. This is what seals up against this brass nut, allowing no air to get into the system. If this comes off while you're shooting molds, it's pretty simple. Usually you can just put the injector back in the hole in the mold. That'll go back on, or put it on by hand. It will be hot, so just be careful. Alright, also on the injector, if you do need to clean it, you likely have to pull the handle up. These two nuts is all you have to take off to actually pull this entire injector apart. It's got plungers inside with O-rings. There are small O-rings in this base where this tube comes in, so be very careful not to get in there with a tool and pull those O-rings out, otherwise you will have to replace them. Other than that, it's a pretty simple piece of machinery. I really have only changed the O-rings in this once, and that was not because it needed it, just kind of prevented the maintenance. So pretty simple system from Ultra Molds. So if you need O-rings, hopefully I have some in the description down below, or go check out ultramolds.com. Get a hold of Rupert on their website. Alright, so here you'll see that we're getting up to temperature with the valves open. Plastic is just running out, basically oozing out of the system. We'll let this sit here and do this for about a minute or two. Basically any plastic that's left in the pot, which isn't any, but basically what is left in the blocks here and the runners will then just run out and make a puddle here. And then we'll pull the injector out and we'll show you how to put a little air into the system to help get the rest of it out, and that'll be it. So we'll come back in a couple minutes and show you what we got. Alright, so here we're back. You can pretty much see what is just naturally drained out of the star is not much at all. What we're going to do now, and I cannot stress enough to be very careful and safe with this, do not look down into the pots or try to get in front of these ports, as we are going to shoot some air into the center port. Now one thing I have to do is close this center port because I can't get my injector back in there, so we got to manually close it. Very nice and carefully. Don't force it. Now we're going to get our injector in here and we're going to introduce air back into the system. Now like I said, nice and slow, gentle, don't get in a hurry here, and this should help bring the plastic back out those ports. Now you might get it to blow into the pot and then it'll naturally drain back in, but I don't think we're going to get much of anything else to really come out. That's going to be just about it. Try it one more time. But yeah, it's pretty well empty. There we go. Now she's starting to talk a little bit. But you'll do this repeated amounts of times until there's pretty much no more plastic coming out. One thing you don't want to do is draw up. but just one more time here. And there you go. It is essentially empty. You might get a little bit more to come out, which is good. But at this point, if it were me, I would come in here, put my injector back, close that valve, put this here, take my pliers again, and close these ports. Don't stick your pliers in there very far. Close those ports, and basically you're ready to load your shooting star with more plastic and get back to work. I'll back up just a second. I open these back up, but if you at this time are having problems with burnt plastic in here, you can take your small pick tool, basically go to rooting around, make sure not to get any hot plastic on you. But there is some burnt plastic coming out of there. For the most part, you know, it's pretty clean, pretty open. So there you go. Close them back up and call it good. Done. Alright folks, one last thing I did not touch up on is the stirs themselves. They're pretty easy to clean. WD-40, little elbow grease, clean them up. Your plastic spatulas, putty knives, whatever. Just clean those up, put them back in the pots when you got plastic in your machine. So I'd like to thank you guys very much for tuning in. That's going to be it for cleaning of the shooting star. It's basically ready to go. It's up to temperature. If you're in the market for a shooting star, full size or mini, make sure to go check out ultramolds.com. It's a great product, and I know that we wouldn't be able to punch out the baits that we do today without it, just bar none. It's helped us quite a bit. So thank you guys for the video. If you got any comments, any more questions on the shooting star, be sure to leave a comment down below, and we'll see you guys on the next one. Thanks.